Have you ever stopped to think about how many things in your adult life still bear your parents' name? No, seriously, stop and count. The cell phone plan, the car insurance, Netflix, that emergency credit card that's become an emotional tracking system. And the funniest thing, you don't even notice anymore. It's become normal. It's become practical. It's become that conversation you have with Cynthia at happy hour, where she says, "Wow, but it's so much cheaper to stay on the family plan." And everyone agrees, nodding their heads like those little dogs on car dashboard. Of course, it's cheaper. But nobody mentions the real price. Nobody talks about how every time your father transfers $200 to your account, he's buying shares of your life, small slices of autonomy that you sell without realizing it. Because at the end of the month, when the rent is due and your account is overdrawn, pride doesn't pay the bills, so you accept it. You accept the money, the help, the support. And along with it comes the whole package, the questions, the unsolicited opinion. That look of disappointment when you make choices they would never approve of, but that you're theoretically too grown up to need approval for. Theoretically. Because in practice, while their last name is printed on that invoice, you don't decide alone. You consult. You justify. You explain your purchases like a manager, reporting to the CEO, and the pattern repeats itself. Every week, every month, every Sunday dinner, where you sit at that table and realize it's not just food that is being served. And the craziest thing about all this, you know you're trapped in this cycle, but there's a voice in your head that always justifies it. It's only temporary. As soon as I get that promotion, I'll get out. Next year, I'll get organized. But next year never comes because there's always a new expense, an unforeseen event, that trip you didn't plan but went on anyway because everyone else was going and you didn't want to be the only one missing from the photos. And your parents? They're not villains. They're not. They really think they're helping. They think this extended financial support model is love translated into bank transfers. And maybe it is, but it's a kind of love that comes with a receipt, with clauses, with that fine print that nobody reads but that obliges you to attend every family event, answer every call, accept every unsolicited piece of advice as if it were pure gold from Mount Sinai. Have you ever been through this? Ever felt that tightness in your chest when you're about to make a purchase and think, is he going to ask? If so, leave a comment. You don't need to write your biography. It can just be yes, or I've been through this. Or even my dad literally called yesterday asking why I ordered food at 11 p.m. Because when you comment, when you leave a like, when you subscribe to the channel, you're not just feeding the algorithm, it's collective validation. It's building a space where we can look at the pattern and say, damn, it's not just me. Because the system works in silence. It works when everyone thinks it's an isolated case. So comment, like, subscribe, not as a favor, but as participation, as recognition that you saw the pattern and want to keep seeing it because we're only just getting started. We haven't even arrived yet in the car insurance section, and there's more. There's always more, because car insurance isn't an isolated case. It's just another piece in the giant puzzle of dependency that was assembled so slowly, so naturally, that you didn't even realize when you stopped being a child and became an adult with a driver's license, but no real autonomy. And the worst part is that everyone around you does the same thing. Cynthia is also part of her parents' plan. Your friend's cousin too. That guy at work who talks about investments in the stock market. Him too. Everyone's in the same boat, rowing in circles, pretending they're going somewhere. And when you meet these people at lunch, at the bar, at the gym, nobody talks about it. Nobody admits that in their 30s, they still depend on bank transfers from their parents to make ends meet. Because admitting it would shatter the illusion. It would be recognizing the pattern. And recognizing the pattern is uncomfortable because it means you'll have to do something about it or consciously accept that you chose to live like this. And your parents, man, they're masters at this, masters at making dependency seem like affection. Let me pay for this. Don't worry about it right now. As long as I can help, I will. And it sounds so beautiful, so generous, such a close-knit family, like in a margarine commercial. But underneath, deep down, there's an implicit clause. There's an unsigned agreement that says, as long as I pay, you owe me explanations, you owe me your presence, you owe me eternal gratitude and an edited version of who you really are. Because if I find out who you really are, I might rethink this investment. It's emotional venture capital. They invested in your education, your upbringing, your first car, your graduation party, and now they expect a return. Not in money, obviously. In performative obedience, in you showing up at dinners, smiling in photos, marrying someone they approve of, having children at the timing they think is right, working in a profession they can explain to their friends without embarrassment. And you just keep going. You keep going because it's easier. Because confrontation is exhausting. Because you work all day, come home exhausted, and the last thing you want is to have a difficult conversation about boundaries and autonomy with the people who literally and technically kept you alive for 2 decades. So you accept the transfer, you answer the call, you go to Sunday dinner. And every time you do that, every time you choose financial comfort over uncomfortable freedom, you're reinforcing the system. You're saying, okay, you can continue. I accept the terms and conditions, even without reading them, even knowing something is wrong, even feeling that tightness in your chest that appears every time you want to do something for yourself, but hesitate because you know you'll have to explain it later. And then you think, when did this become my life? When did I accept that my father had the right to have a say in where I drive, what I eat, how much data I use, what time I come home? When did I trade my privacy for convenience? And the answer is gradual. It was gradual. It was subtle. It was that small yes you gave at 22, then at 25, then at 28. Until at 30, you look in the mirror and realize that your entire adult life has been built on foundations that aren't yours. You're living in a borrowed house, driving a half-borrowed car, using a half-borrowed phone, and the only thing that's entirely yours is the feeling that something isn't, right? But you can't complain because you're privileged, right? There are people starving, there are homeless people, there are people in much worse situations. So who are you to complain about parents who help you? Who are you to feel suffocated when technically you should be grateful? And that's where the poison lies. It's not in the parents, it's not in the money. It's in the guilt you feel for wanting to leave. It's in the shame of admitting that financial help has become an emotional prison. It's in the fear of seeming ungrateful when all you want is to breathe without supervision. If you've ever had to choose between freedom and stability, write in the comments, insurance too expensive. That's all. But before you assume the problem is solely financial, let me introduce you to another character in this story. And the most surreal thing is that you start shaping your behavior around it. You don't watch what you want, you watch what's defensible. You avoid certain series because you know they'll appear on the list and you'll have to justify them. You create an internal self-censorship that you don't even realize you're doing until the day you're browsing Netflix at 11 o'clock at night and you scroll past something that interests you because you automatically think, what if he sees it? And then you realize that at 29 years old, you're editing your entertainment choices because someone who pays the bill can watch. You're living in the version of a surveillance state, but instead of cameras, it's streaming algorithms. And the worst part, everyone accepts this as normal. You mention this to Cynthia and she laughs. Wow, my dad also watches what I watch. It's so annoying. And everyone laughs along, as if it were a cute joke about a dysfunctional modern family, when in reality, it's a symptom of an entire generation that can't cut the digital cord, because cutting the digital cord means paying $40 a month that you don't have to spare. And your parents don't do it maliciously. They don't. They genuinely think it's just resource sharing. Why would you spend money when it's already included here? And it makes sense. It makes pure financial sense. But there's an emotional cost that nobody calculates. There's the cost of never having a completely private space, of never being able to consume content without the possibility of scrutiny, of always, on some level, performing for their gaze, even when they're not really looking, because you know they can. It's panoptic, but with a monthly subscription and 2 simultaneous devices. And there are more layers, because it's not just Netflix. It's the shared iCloud where your photos are mixed with your family's photos. It's the family Spotify where your mom sees your playlists and comments. Why are you listening to so much sad music? It's Amazon Prime that gives you free shipping, but also lets your parents see what you buy. It's HBO where your brother sees that you rewatched Game of Thrones for the 5th time and judges you in the family group chat. Each platform is just another thread in this giant network of forced transparency. You have no dark corners. You have no locked drawers. You have profiles with your name, linked to the main account, visible, auditable, always one click away from becoming the topic of conversation at the next dinner party. And you know what the most insidious part is? It works both ways. Because while your parents see what you do, you also see what they do. You see your father's history, the endless war documentaries, the bad action movies from the 80s, that true crime show your mother binge watches, and you start to have insights into who they are that you didn't ask for. You start to see your parents as people with tastes, with habits, with things they do when they think no one is watching. And it's strange, it's invasive on both sides. But nobody talks about it. Nobody acknowledges that maybe, just maybe, adults need mutual privacy. That maybe healthy relationships have boundaries, not total transparency. But you say nothing, because saying anything would complicate things. It would transform something practical into something emotional. And your family doesn't do emotions well. Your family does practical things. They do them efficiently. They do them economically. So you continue sharing accounts, sharing digital spaces, sharing pieces of your privacy as if it were a fair in exchange for financial convenience. And little by little, so slowly that you don't notice, you forget what it's like to have something that is only yours. You normalize the idea that privacy is a luxury, not a necessity, that autonomy is too expensive, that it's easier, cheaper, more sensible to remain connected, linked, visible. And the pattern repeats itself. Every month when the account renews, every day when you open the app, every time you hesitate before clicking play because you know it will be recorded. You are training yourself to live under constant observation and calling it family economics. You are accepting benevolent surveillance and thanking it for its convenience. And the scariest part? You don't even realize when you started doing it anymore. It's become a reflex. It's become normal. It's just another thing that everyone does. If your streaming history has ever been used against you in a family argument, write in the comments, family algorithm. But if you think that invasion of digital privacy that's bad, wait until we talk about the credit card. Because the emergency credit card is brilliant in its cruelty. It's brilliant because it gives you an illusion of security while keeping you completely traceable. You carry that piece of plastic in your wallet and feel protected, like you have a parachute, a backup, a safety net in case everything goes wrong. But what you really have is a financial electronic ankle that records every move, every decision, every moment of weakness when you go through the drive-thru at 2 a.m. because you worked late and didn't have the energy to cook. And then comes the message. It always comes. I saw a transaction on the card. Is everything okay? And you have to decide in milliseconds. Do I lie and say it was a real emergency? Or do I tell the truth and face the sermon on financial planning from someone who bought a house in the 90s when it cost the price of a used car today? And there's a perverse psychology to it, because every time you use the card, even for a legitimate emergency, you feel guilty. You feel like you're in debt. Not necessarily in debt for money, because technically, your parents said you don't need to pay it back, that it's help, but you're in debt for something worse. You're in debt for eternal gratitude. You're in debt for future obedience. You're in debt for that version of yourself they imagine $47 at Target can buy. Each transaction is an emotional debt that accumulates in an invisible statement that never closes, that never zeroes out, that only grows, and you know it. You feel it every time your finger hovers over that card before swiping. That hesitation, that second of, is it worth it, isn't about money. It's about how much of your peace of mind you're willing to sell for immediate convenience. And your parents, man, they've turned this into a science. They don't say no. They never say no directly. It would be too easy to obvious. Instead, they ask, do you really need this? Can't you wait until the end of the month? Are you sure it's the best choice? Questions that are technically reasonable, but carry judgment in the subtext. Questions that don't seek information, they seek admission of guilt. And you answer, justify, explain, defend your consumption choices as if you were in court, being interrogated about minor financial crimes. And the worst part, you start asking yourself these questions. You internalize their voice, you develop an internal auditor that sounds exactly like your father, questioning every purchase before you make it. Congratulations, you've been Pavlovianly conditioned to feel anxiety before spending money that isn't even technically yours. And there's another level to it. Because this card isn't just surveillance, it's preventative control. It's a way for your parents to intervene before you mess things up. You want to buy a concert ticket? Notification. Phone call. Son, are you sure? Isn't it too expensive? Aren't you spending too much on entertainment? You want to buy new clothes because your favorite shirt finally disintegrated after 5 years? Do you really need it? Can't it be fixed? And it doesn't matter that you're 30, work full-time, pay your other bills. None of that matters when the card that saves your life in real emergencies also gives your parents veto power over your trivial decision. They've become your unelected, unsolicited, but fully operational financial approval committee, and you accept it. You accept it because the alternative is worse. The alternative is having no safety net at all. It's living on a knife's edge where a flat tire, a trip to the dentist, an unexpected bill means going into real debt. With real interest, with real consequences for your credit. So you choose emotional debt over financial debt. You choose to answer to your parents instead of answering to the bank. And you convince yourself that it's better this way, that at least they care, that at least someone is looking out for you, when in reality, what you have is someone watching you full-time with push notifications. And the pattern replicates itself. In Cynthia's life, in the lives of her friends, in the lives of an entire generation that was taught that financial security comes with parental supervision included, no matter the age. Everyone carrying these cards, these backups, these safety nets that are also traps. Everyone accounting for their finances. Everyone justifying their actions. Everyone feeling that pang of guilt before swiping their card, even knowing that the purchase is legitimate, necessary, reasonable. If you've ever needed to justify a purchase of less than $50 to someone who isn't your boss, write in the comments, shampoo emergency. But this financial vigilance is only preparation for a true battlefield, because moving back in with your parents at 30 isn't just about saving on rent. It's about complete regression. It's about returning to a dynamic you thought you'd left behind when you got that degree and swore you'd do things differently. But here you are, implicitly asking permission to use the kitchen after 10 because your parents have gone to bed and you don't want to make noise. You, a fully grown adult, with a job, with responsibilities, tiptoeing around your own house like a polite intruder, and your parents don't even need to say anything explicitly. The control is in the little things. In the way your mother rearranges the dishes you washed the wrong way. In the way your father comments on the light in your room that stays on late. It must be adding up to a hefty bill. As if you didn't contribute, as if your presence were a favor they're doing, not a mutual arrangement that benefits everyone financially. And maybe it is a favor in their mind. Perhaps they genuinely see it as charity, as an extension of parental care that should have expired a decade ago, but which they keep active because the world has changed and you need help, and you do. That's the part that hurts. You really do. Without this house, where would you be? In a shared apartment with 3 strangers from Craigslist. In a windowless studio that costs 80% of your salary. So you stay. You stay and learn to fold towels the right way, not to bring anyone home, to let them know when you're going out as if you were 17 again. And the pattern doesn't break because breaking it would mean facing the brutal financial reality that brought you back. It would mean admitting that you can't sustain independence alone in this economy. If you've ever moved back in with your parents as an adult, write in the comments. Towels folded wrong. And if you think living under the same roof is intrusive, wait until Sunday arrives. And Sunday dinner becomes this performative ritual where everyone knows the script, but no one admits they're following one. Your mother pretends the questions are spontaneous. Your father pretends the comparisons to Josh are casual. You pretend you don't care, that it doesn't affect you, that you're okay with your choices. But under the table, your stomach is churning, not from the food, but from the tension of trying to be enough for people who cross the line of sufficiency every time you get close to it. And there's that moment, there always is, where someone mentions money. Never directly, always tangential. We saw there's a vacancy at Uncle Mark's company, it pays much better. Your cousin got a great apartment. The rent is only $1,800, as if $1,800 were only something, as if you hadn't applied for 100 jobs this month and received 97 automatic rejections and 3 silences. It's as if the market still worked the way it did when they were your age, and you could simply try harder and prosper. But you don't explain this, because explaining would be complaining, and complaining when you live rent-free or almost rent-free, when you use their cell phone plan, when you have that emergency card in your wallet, would be ungrateful. So you swallow it, literally and metaphorically. You swallow the dry chicken, the wet judgment, and the comparison to Josh that's been stuck in your throat since your father opened his phone. And you promise yourself every week that next week you'll speak up. You'll set boundaries, you'll say the questions bother you, but next week arrives and you sit in the same chair, eat from the same plate, and the pattern repeats itself. If you've ever been compared to your parents' friend's son during a family dinner, write in the comments, "I'm jealous of Josh." But at least dinner is only once a week. Holidays, family vacation. Vacation is all about total immersion. Because we've already paid your share is the phrase that ends any argument before it even begins. It's the trump card that invalidates your autonomy, your tiredness, your preferences, everything. You don't want to go. Irrelevant. It's already been paid for. Would you rather use that time to truly rest, alone, in peace? Selfishness. It's already been invested. And the worst part is that they actually think they're doing you a huge favor. In their minds, this is the ultimate generosity. They're paying for the family to be together, creating memories, strengthening bonds. But in your mind, it's emotional kidnapping with transfer included. It's a whole week where you can't be yourself, because being yourself would clash with the narrative they've built of a happy family on perfect vacation. So you perform, you smile in the photos, you participate in the activities, you pretend you're loving every second, while mentally you're somewhere else, maybe on a different beach, alone, with a book, without anyone asking every 5 minutes if you're having fun. And your real vacation, the one you took from work, it evaporated. You came back more tired than when you left. You came back needing a vacation from your vacation, but you can't complain, because complaining would invalidate the financial sacrifice your parents made. It would be throwing in their faces that money doesn't buy genuine connection, doesn't force intimacy, doesn't create moments worth remembering. It only buys physical presence and silent resentment. If you've ever returned from a family vacation needing another vacation, write in the comments, all include hostage. But everything we've talked about so far, it's just a symptom. The symptom is money. The problem is that you never learn to exist without external validation. Because this whole system, this web of financial dependence, wouldn't be so effective if you hadn't been conditioned since childhood to equate love with approval and approval with obedience. Your parents didn't invent this, they inherited it, and you'll pass it on if you don't break the cycle now. Because what really holds you back isn't the cell phone plan, it's fear. Fear of disappointing. Fear of proving them right when they said you couldn't do it alone. Fear of looking in the mirror and seeing someone who failed according to success criteria that aren't even yours, but that you've internalized so deeply they seem ingrained in your DNA. And here's the part nobody tells you. Getting out isn't just about money. You could win the lottery tomorrow and still be trapped if you don't learn to say no. Not to the money, but to what comes with it. Not to occasional help, but to constant surveillance. Not to your parents themselves, but to the role they occupy in your mind. That internal tribunal that judges your every decision before you even make it. And it will hurt. Cutting the cord will hurt because cords that remain tied for 30 years take root. There will be tearful connections. There will be veiled accusations of selfishness. There will be that moment when your mother says, after everything we've done for you, and you'll have to take a deep breath and remember that gratitude isn't slavery, that you can be grateful for your childhood and still need distance in adulthood. That true love doesn't demand accountability, doesn't charge emotional interest, doesn't use generosity as a lever of control. True love sets you free, wishes you well, supports you even when you choose paths they wouldn't choose. And what if the love you receive comes with conditions, clauses, and tracking system? Perhaps it's time to question whether it's love or a poorly disguised contract. If you've already realized that the problem isn't financial, but emotional, write in the comments cordon com raiz, mean cord with roots. And when you finally leave, when you finally have your own keys, your own bills, your own life without 24/7 supervision, you'll have your own moment. A moment when you're alone in your tiny apartment, eating something improvised on the rickety couch, with no one asking where you are, what you're doing, or why you chose this over that. And in that moment, in that silence that isn't loneliness but peace, you'll realize that for the first time in your entire adult life, you're not performing. You're not being a model child. You're not being a problem employee. You're not being an edited version of yourself that fits anyone's expectation. You're just being, and that, man, that's what nobody tells you. Being is more important than seeming. Living is more valuable than pleasing. And freedom, true freedom, doesn't come from not having problems. It comes from having problems that are yours, choices that are yours, failures that are yours, and successes that you don't need to share credit for with anyone who used a bank account as a control system. So if you've made it this far, if you've watched this entire video and recognized the pattern in your own life, do the following. Subscribe to the channel, not because I'm asking, but because you understand that content like this, which talks about the invisible systems we normalize, needs to continue to exist. Leave a like if this resonated with you. And in the comments, write, I saw the whole pattern. That's all. So I know that you not only watched, you absorbed it. You saw beyond the entertainment. You recognized the structure. And look, there's another video here that continues this conversation from a different angle. Because patterns don't exist in isolation, they exist in layers. And if this one resonated with you, the next one will make even more sense. So click, watch, and keep seeing what everyone experiences but nobody talks about. Thanks for staying until the end. See you next time.